know what? You can't go into Omaha and beat Creighton. I want nothing to do with you. You're out. You're off the list.
Yeah, won like 80 games this year. It's like, nope. I watched last night.
You know what? Happened. Not good enough for me. Go on the road and beat Creighton and make it 15 in a row, or you're off the list.
I mean, maybe, I guess if you want to just have Purdue win and have that be your thing, that's fine. It wouldn't have been my pick of a non-UConn team. Maybe
I like Houston also. I think I might go with Houston also.
Well, and maybe your thing is this is the year that all the teams that everyone dumps on, one of them wins and gets back at everybody. So honestly, you should take Houston, Purdue, and Tennessee. Those should be your teams.
No, I draw the line at Rick Barnes.
How do you draw the line?
The line has been drawn because I hate him.
Matt Painter's
He's
way
the ultimate
worse than Barnes.
You've heard of the Ultimate Warrior? Rick Barnes is the ultimate loser. No, no.
Oh, Painter's so much worse. Painter lost to a 16. Give me another team. Rick Barnes never lost to a 16.
Well, give me another team. I can't be Tennessee. Not Tennessee.
A team that's cursed, that won't win. I mean, those are the big ones. Here are the other good teams. Can I give you one that I like? And we bet them last night. And I didn't know you bet them. We talked about it this morning. BYU's awesome, right? Oh, there's your team. No one should bet them. They're BYU, but they're actually really good. Tyler texted me last night. We both bet them. I texted him at halftime. BYU was trailing early in the game. They actually played a terrible first 10 minutes, and they got it to up 5 at half. And I text Tyler at halftime out of nowhere, probably for him. It's 3 hours later, oh God, did a tweet not send? And I texted him and I go, I think BYU's about to just pulverize them in the second half of this game. I think they're locked and loaded. And he's like, I totally agree. And I think Tyler, said something I didn't think they were this good because they're BYU, but they're awesome. They're actually really good. It's kind of like Houston, in a new conference. Everything's kind of different this year with a lot of these teams. BYU's not bad. You could also... Everyone's going to dump on Gonzaga because this is a really bad Gonzaga. They might be the last team in the tournament. They might be the last team in the tournament, and you might be the slipper still fits.
A few good bets. Ken, your impressions of UConn, one of the two favorites to win the Natty, getting thumped on the road last night by the Creighton Blue Jays.
Yeah, it's not just that it's all the teams that people have dumped on. It's they've all been dumped on, and they're all the top 10 teams this year. It's not just you're going, not you have to go out of your way to find Rick Barnes. He's in the top 10. You don't have to go out of your way to find Matt Painter. He might be the number 1 overall seed when we get to the NCAA tournament. That's just kind of what it is. So yeah, I know you also said, I know you guys did 4 hours on this yesterday. And it's well, gosh, kind of a lot's changed since then because UConn hadn't played this game yet. I said it yesterday, just with Connecticut, with me, what I said yesterday was they're actually on much more of a tightrope with me in terms of betting them to win the national title than I think for a lot of people. Because if they stumble a little down the stretch, let's say they lose this game last night and they lose a couple more, I think a lot of people will be yeah, okay, but still a great team. Let's play on them. Let's play on them to win the title. But the way that I just handicap the tournament is I don't want teams that are worse versions of the team that they were the year before. I don't want those teams. And if UConn loses a couple more games, they're going to look worse than last year's team did entering the tournament. It will be a worse version of, you could say it unequivocally, it'll be a worse version of UConn than the team that entered the tournament last year and won the title. And those teams don't win, or I should say they've never won. So there'll always be a first. But again, the way I try to frame this is great. They can win, but knowing that, would you bet on it? So I'm really curious to see how this plays out for the next 3 weeks. Is this the start of a mini losing streak? Look, every team goes through slumps, even the really good teams, especially in college where it's just so inconsistent. Just because it's 18-year-olds, they're not going to play great for 35 games. It's just really not going to happen, with rare exception. So I'm really curious. Is this the start of something that leads me to bet someone else, and or is it just, hey, look, and I watched the game last night. I think a lot of people did. A team shoots like that from 3. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
You tip the cap. You tip the cap.
And I actually think
at their place.
I think at their place, crowd's going crazy.
Team. It's not like Creighton sucks. Creighton's really good.
They're really, really good. I don't think they're title good, but look, they're really good. I don't think they're talented enough, but they have really good players. In just the context of all the college basketball teams, they have good players, and they were all just on fire from 3. Tough to get out of a game like that, especially in the regular season. But I actually thought it was kind of telling this would be like if you wanted a positive spin for UConn, and it's tough to find one from last night, admittedly. Okay, cool. Creighton shoots really well from three. It's like 20 the whole like first 10 minutes of the second half. And the telecast did a great job. They have the wired sound from Hurley being like, let's get it to 10 by the time we get to the under 4 media timeout. And like, that should be our goal. Because then if we get it to 10, then maybe they get tight and whatever. And even at like 16 and 14, yeah, I'm not saying like the fans were definitely nervous, but they're always like Creighton was nervous at 14 and 6. Like it's like they knew, oh man, like if this gets to like 8 or 6, this is like the best team in the this is going to be a problem.
Did
like,
you think UConn was going to win? Because we were all, I think, kind of thinking that, right, at 74-64 when like FS1 put that graphic up, and it was, here's where we were at the 18 and whatever, 4-10, and now where we're at now. I'm like, is UConn actually going to win this game right now?
Right. And I think there are some ways it plays out from there where they do win. And I believe like the next possession after that, they run a out of timeout play that McDermott draws up where like Shireman comes off a few screens and hits a three from like the top of the arc. And like once that goes in, you're like, oh, okay. Like that's kind of what it's going to be. Yeah. But it's right. And that just goes to like, look, 3-point variance going to bite teams sometimes. Creighton made everything the whole game. And even when they were, UConn kind of got it kind of close. So look, I'm not out on UConn. You shouldn't, if you were in on them after Marquette, you can't be out now or vice versa. Like it's 2 games, but I will be curious, like what the next 3 weeks are here. Like the way I framed it yesterday is just, they have to be better than last year's team entering the tournament for me to be interested. And that's a small margin of error. They got to be like number 1 or like close to it. And if they're not that, and they're a more flawed version of last year's really good team, we have 3 NBA players left the team. If they're not going to be that, then I'm going to look somewhere else. But we have to wait to see how it plays out.
One of the themes that Ken and I were talking about in hour number 1 of today's show is how a lot of teams at the top of the odds board right now to win the national championship are teams that have been like dumped on over the years, right? That have had, whether Purdue, Houston, right? Rick Barnes in Tennessee, like a lot of teams that have not had a ton of tournament success or have had a lot of high-profile tournament failures. So if I read you a bunch of teams, right? Purdue is plus 650 at MGM, Houston's at 9, Tennessee's at 13, like Bruce Pearl and Auburn are 18. I know Auburn went to a Final Four. Is there a team, and maybe it's Houston based on one of the answers you gave previously, that you think could buck some trends this year and make a deep run? Who would it be and why? Maybe win the national title.
Yeah, Auburn is one of those teams that I really like. It's just the price hasn't been there for me, Nick. I'm kind of late to the party with Auburn. They have 7 lineups in the top 100. They're right up there with Iowa State and Houston as far as efficiency for offensive and defensive side combined. I have a real – and I'll sidetrack from that. The number just hasn't been right for Auburn. If I can get 25-1, which, I mean, I'm searching like 20, 30 books for it. I'm waiting for them to maybe take a loss, maybe something embarrassing. Maybe the number will drop a little bit, but I might have to settle for a 20-1. But that's definitely the team out of there. The conference I'm avoiding completely is the Big Ten. And I'll have to go back. I don't have the number right in front of me, but I think they're playing like 500 basketball the last 3 March Madness tournaments in a row. Like, besides Purdue making a deep run once in the last 3 years, they've been terrible. They've been awful. They've made no rumblings in the Final Four. They haven't contended for a national title. They're barely getting out of the first round. So I don't know what's going on with Big Ten basketball, but I will sample one team out of that conference, which is going to be Wisconsin, and that's it. I mean, I am not going to be heavily invested in the Big Ten whatsoever.
It became cool a while ago. It became really, you couldn't be internet sharp without saying, I hate trends. Trends are stupid. Trends are for losers. It has to be in your vernacular. With a Z. And because you have to say it with a Z, because then it's even more derogatory. Because then you're like, no, I'm really sarcastic. They're really stupid. And it like became the foundation of, if you're going to be a new person in betting content and you see what's out there, it gets into your brain. Everyone says this. It must be true. And therefore, I must now say it. And I must be the champion of this cause. And it must be me. And if anybody follows our show, especially the last 2 years, I have secretly, and maybe not so secretly, I have become like the king of trends. That's like how I do a ton of my work. History. What has happened previously? Like, I had somebody send me a note the other day because we keep doing the NFL DVOA thing. I just think it's simple and really fun. And they're like, man, is this like it's a trend? Like, this is just all you use when you do something? I go, well, look, it's not all I use, but it tends to be really helpful. it gave us the winner. Like if you bet Michigan in college football, you without knowing it, it's like when my wife will sometimes put really healthy stuff in the smoothie and not tell me, and I'll drink it, and she'll be like, "It was cauliflower." I'm like, "What?
Gotcha."
Like, how did cauliflower get in there? Like, surprise, kale.
And then Ken throws the glass and shatters against the wall.
Right. And then it gets much more serious from that point forward because I have been wronged. Poison. Pah. But yeah, sometimes like she'll put in the vegetables and not tell me. Guess what? Like you bet Michigan to win the national championship. Surprise! I snuck in a bunch of trends on you. Like,
Soylent Green is people.
Yeah, like the joke's on you.
Winning bets are trends.
I think you're talking about when everybody zigs, you're zagging, like with who you want to pick to win the title. I might become Mr. Trend. That might be all I do.
And
guess what? We're like winning a lot on this show. We've had a really good run. This has been a great winner for us on the show. Like a lot of bets we gave out, NFL playoffs, awards, obviously were outstanding. Man, you bet some of the awards. Man, Ken, you're like, I've got really, really lucky. This was not a skill-based NFL award season, but like, oh man, like won a lot of money. Like what's the secret? What if I was just like trends? Yeah, that's like what it is. I think a lot of people that parrot that point don't think about why that's the case. I think all they think about is like the Chiefs are 10-0 on full moons or something. Because that's like the example. Like I would make up a ridiculous example. Is like, well, okay, but what about like the standard stuff? You know, like, that's good. I kind of think a lot of it's great. I think a lot of it's really good when used properly and when thought of properly. That's one of my gripes. I might totally zag on this. I might be over the top even on trends.